Far in the northern reaches of Ontario and Manitoba lies a vast, unspoiled wilderness, sprawling for over 1 million square kilometers. First Nations, explorers, and fur traders have long paddled the storied waters of this remote and unforgiving region. The Ojibwe peoples who call this land home know it as the land of the original people, and the early fur traders bestowed upon it the namesake of Le Petit Nord. This is the Little North. This would be a trying journey through untamed waters. Guided by whispers of the past and grappling with the challenges of the present, we set out to explore over 450 kilometers of paddling history. There's a certain draw to the mystique and relative unknown of a forgotten passage. Retracing the past, however, is not for the faint of heart, and the land doesn't give up her secrets and stories easily. Those who move in sync with the rhythm of the land are rewarded with unspoiled splendor, solitude, and a deep connection to the world around them. Our journey is centered on the waters of the Cat and Throat rivers, two systems that flow in opposite directions to their eventual confluence with the icy waters of the Arctic Ocean. The crossover between these two mighty waterways was once a well-used fur trade route, but has since faded from memory, only to be swallowed up by the primordial expanse of the northern boreal forest. Our plan would have us depart from the SHABUMENI River and paddle west through Birch Lake to the large, unspoiled lakes of the Cat River system. We would then attempt what few in the modern era set out to accomplish, and cross the height of land to the remote headwaters of the Throat River. Paddling the Throat from its early beginnings to its eventual confluence with the Barons River promised to offer up hardship, triumph, adventure, and one unforgettable experience. No matter the outcome, we knew the journey would leave a lasting mark, and we couldn't wait to see what lay before us as we paddled across the Little North.
All right, it is August 22nd. Brad and I are just about to start our big trip. Now we are on a logging road northeast of Ear Falls, which is just a little bit south of Red Lake.
To access the heart of the Little North for our canoe trip, we drove down to the dusty end of one of the northernmost roads in the region.
Our friend Albert from Gold Seekers Outfitting out of Red Lake, Ontario has kindly shuttled us for this big trip. So we're working our way down the logging road right now. And then in 375 kilometers, he'll pick us up on the other end.
Gold Seekers, we provide kind of complete or partial outfitting, guided trips, kind of whatever it takes to put people on the water within the Red Lake district. It's literally hundreds of thousands of square miles of park land and wilderness to explore. Probably, in my mind, it's some of the best water in the country. We have just so much of it, so wild, so few people. Just a great place to be.
We've been dying to get out to this portion of the province because it's so beautiful. Finally this year we were able to commit to taking a good chunk of time. So Brad reached out to Albert and asked, about a couple ideas we had in our mind, and Albert was able to provide a lot of expertise and help us figure out the best place to launch the boat, where there's some good sites that we may want to stay at, areas to avoid.
I suppose I'll tell you what I tell most people that go on a trip. Make sure you keep the open side up when you're out there.
We plan on doing that.
Alrighty.
Let's go!
On the river, babes. Can you believe it? We're about to start a big, epic canoe trip. Our journey began on the placid waters of the SHABUMENI River. Paddling downstream, the realization of what we were undertaking slowly sunk in. From this point onward, we were traveling through a pristine, roadless wilderness. It was now just the two of us, our canoe, and over 450 kilometers of the Little North. This looks like a little Class 1 boulder garden on the SHABUMENI River. So we're just gonna shoot into this little pool and then see what lies further on down. So let's give it a go. It's a bit shallow. All right.
The few short rapids we encountered on the SHABUMENI hinted at what was to come later on in our journey and allowed us to brush up on our lining and wading skills.
We have made it to the lake, and of course, those whitecaps in a pretty beefy headwind. We thought we'd get to camp early, but it's a pretty bushy looking lake from our vantage point here. I mean, there might be some nice spots around, but it's windy, so it makes finding a spot extra difficult. As we entered SHABUMENI Lake, we would begin a 200-kilometer section through the Cat River watershed, largely dominated by sprawling, windswept lakes. All right, so we made it to our first camp of the trip on SHABUMENI Lake. When we got to the lake here, the wind was howling, and there were some pretty big whitecaps. We didn't have the spray deck on just yet. We're gonna put it on early in the morning before we set out. But they were actually starting to crest over the bow, and it was getting on in the day, and we've been on the road since about 6 a.m. this morning. And with the time change too, that adds another hour. So it's almost about 5 a.m. since we've been on the road. So really long day. We wanted to get to a site in decent time, so we pulled in here around 6 o'clock. This little island, just kind of spied it as we were going down the shore, a few flat rocks, but it was a really bushy site. So Leah and I actually spent about 30 minutes cutting out a tent pad and a spot to have the fire out in the rocks here. We are following an old historic fur trade route, and because this region doesn't see a whole lot of recreational paddlers going through, it's quite possible that not really many people have stayed since those fur traders or voyageurs stayed here eons ago. Pretty cool. Good morning. We are about to head off down SHABUMENI Lake and down the river. Bit of a gray day, and the wind really didn't let up last night. Bit of a mild chop. Got the spray deck on the canoe today, so we're good to go face some of the bigger waves if we get out there, but hopefully not. Hopefully today the headwinds aren't too strong and we can put some mileage behind us, because we do have quite a bit of distance to go today. Yeah, looks to be an exciting day out here, and we can't wait to hit the water. All right, first rapids we're gonna run on the SHABUMENI River. Class 1, little bouldery though. So we'll just watch ourselves. Nice. To the right of that boulder's a ledge, but we'll be able to get down it, okay? Cross, draw, cross, draw. Now draw, 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 draw. Yes, nice, nice, nice. Keep drawing. Perfect. Well done. Good job, babe.
We have ourselves a bunch of cranberries. Whole area is covered in them. So used to seeing blueberries, not so much cranberries.
It's turned out to be a really gorgeous day out here. Winds really died down in this river system, and it's calm, and she is hot. But yeah, we're making pretty good progress so far. Just stopping here for lunch. And we really don't have much in the way of any more portages or obstacles. There's one 300-meter portage to get us from Birch to Springpole, and we're probably about 5 or 6K from Birch Lake right now. We'll see maybe about 15 to 20 kilometers roughly to get to a site tonight. So lots of time, just past noon, so we're looking good. I don't think you'll ever have a problem with firewood. We've made it to Birch Lake now. So we're gonna go down this narrow bay, and then eventually we're gonna get out to the maze of islands that makes up Birch Lake. A little tricky to navigate, it looks like, from the map if you're not paying attention because there's so many islands. But we've got pretty much a straight across west to east. So we'll get that portage in a couple hours.
20K down, 20 more to go.
This is huge. This would be what the Muskoka lakes would be like if they didn't have cottages all over them.
Yeah. That's haunting.
The Little North is steeped in a rich history of use by First Nations, prospectors, trappers, fur traders, and explorers. Early into our journey, we were already met with whispers of the past from those who had come and gone before us.
We've been seeing claim posts pretty much throughout the entire trip. An old mining claim post, which makes sense because the geology in the area is quite impressive. For all those geology buffs out there, check out this sick rock. Naturally, there would be people prospecting in the area. We're actually approaching a pretty major exploration camp on Springpole Lake. This is a traditional First Nation fish camp and hunt camp that they'll go to throughout the summer and winter probably. Here they would put a tarp around it, and that's where they would smoke their meat. Just when you think you're completely alone up here, you come across stuff like this and you realize that even in the far north, it's active with human activity.
The portage from Birch to Springpole is just one in a network of countless ancient footpaths that have been traveled for thousands of years. In the Little North, elements of a traditional lifestyle still persist, despite the encroachments of an ever-advancing world. The nearby communities of Slate Falls and Cat Lake First Nations still use the trail networks of the Cat Lake watershed to access traditional fishing and hunting grounds. We owed our ease of travel to the keepers of these pathways since time immemorial. Wow, what a day. We did about 41 kilometers. We're on Springpole Lake right now. It was just a good push trying to get these kilometers behind us. At the start of the trip, we have a lot of these larger lake systems, and the reason we're trying to push right now is because we're not really sure what the headwaters of the throat are going to be like. I'm thinking it's not going to be easy, and there's going to be a bit of a challenge to it. Nice little site here. We hacked out of the bush again. There's storms moving across on the far side, but there's patches of blue up there, so odd weather. We're hoping that the rain stays off and we don't have to string a tarp up. Unfortunately too, we're getting closer to September, so we don't have as much light to lounge around the camp at the end of the day here, so sitting around the fire instead. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing now. Gorgeous morning here. We are on day number 3 and we're going to be making our way down Springpole Lake. Day 3, big day. What are you feeling?
Excited? gonna be long. It's gonna be another long day, like another 40 plus K day. But it's really sunny, and it's beautiful out. It's gonna be fun. I mean, the lakes look pretty big and they look gorgeous. There's some rapids in the middle of the day, around the 25-kilometer mark. Hopefully they're runnable, because that would suck to have to portage them all.
We're going to be heading down south for a while, and then we're going to turn to the east, which looks favorable for us today because the wind is coming from the west, so hopefully we'll have a tailwind. Good time of making our way down Spring Pole. Just pulled up to a lovely little beach here, but we got a nice tailwind whipping through here now. Push us along. Got a decent tailwind here on Spring Pole Lake. It's honestly probably the most scenic lake we've seen on this trip so far. This entire north shore that we're flanking right now is kind of lined with like these small cliffs, and there's all these little dotted islands around on this lake with these smooth rock points jutting out. Even if there's not a lot of established sites, it looks like easy enough places to set up a tent. Really gorgeous area though.
On a journey like this, you move when the weather is favorable. The winds are always fickle at best, so when a stiff breeze runs its course on your heading, you embrace it and move swiftly, in sync with the rhythm of the land.
Spring Pole Lake's about 20 kilometers long, pretty narrow lake, and then at its exit there's a series of rapids. It looks like class 2, class 1, maybe class 3, hard to tell. I just kind of looked at the satellite and kind of roughly decided what classifications they are. So we won't know till we get down there. Looks like it's going through some old burn areas too, so there might be some sweepers and strainers we got to keep an eye out for. And then after that we get on the Cat River system and work our way up north towards the throat. We've got our first decent set of rapids of the trip. It's about a class 2. Pretty straightforward. We're gonna keep to the left, but there's a bit of a wave train at the end. We might need to brace through. Got the deck on here because we're probably gonna have a bit of water going over the bow. Looks like a pretty clean, fun run. So, you know, first big one of the trip. Let's have some fun on this one. Ready, babes? Okay. So we can funnel right here. Okay, yeah, left. Left. Now cross draw, cross draw, cross draw, cross. Straight down. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Nice. Yeah, so we'll just take the V down and then avoid that rock, go to the right of that rock at the end, see? So we made it to Gull Lake, pretty blown away. Literally we got a nice big tailwind right now, but this is a really big lake. A lot of windswept jack pines out on these really big open exposed rocks. Really impressed. Wasn't really sure what Gull Lake was gonna look like, but ever since we got on spring pole today, the scenery's been just outstanding, and Gull Lake hasn't disappointed either. If it was a little later in the day, we'd definitely camp at this site because it is fantastic. Massive big rock sloping down to the water, and gorgeous sweeping views of the entire lake. So we still want to put some kilometers behind us. We're going to paddle down the lake a bit. Plus we have a favorable tailwind, so we're going to take advantage of that and move on. Oh, that tailwind is so nice. It's got a sail up almost. So for camp for night 3, we're here at north end of Gull Lake near Thistle Island. We wanted to get a bit of distance behind us again today, and we went about 40 kilometers. A lot of really nice sights on Gull Lake. Not as many up here near Thistle Island, but fortunately we spotted this really nice piece of Canadian shield rock coming right down to the water. So perfect spot for us to set up the tent and have a nice fire. Actually made good time, got here at 5:30, so we have a little more time to relax tonight, and that's not bad for hauling a good 40 kilometers a day. Setting up camp where the land, weather, and time permits. It's an age-old rhythm of the Little North. The places we stop have likely sheltered passerbys of the past, from the First Nations to the fur traders and recreational paddlers of today. If the land could speak, she would captivate you with unending tales of those who have passed through before. What's tonight's dinner?
It is 2 different types of curry, chana masala, and then some black bean lentil curry mixed together with rice. Looks appealing, eh? With toasted naan. And our big box of wine that we thought we'd be way further through than we are, but we're not. That we're trying to make our way through so we don't have to portage it over the headwaters.
Tomorrow we're going to make it up through Zions and hopefully get up towards Cat Lake. We're going to see what happens with the wind direction. So another big day. We're going to try to get up early for that one too. We just want to get these big lakes behind us just in case the wind shifts and we get caught and we have to slog. So yeah, we had a nice tailwind today, and hopefully we have a tailwind tomorrow because it's helping moving us along. Good morning. It's gray, it's cold, it's rainy, and it's windy. The wind did not stop at all last night and continued to blow through this morning. Now there's bits of mist coming in. Checking the satellite forecast, looks like we're expecting some heavy rain later today, later tonight. So we're actually getting on the water pretty early. It's about 7:45 right now. So we're just leaving Gull Lake behind, and now we're entering the Cat River. Basically, the Cat River at this section is a lot of large lakes followed by just a couple little kilometers of small river in between. Only a few portages, which makes it actually a really easy river to travel upstream on. Even though these rivers kind of drain out towards the Arctic watershed, the Cat River is interesting because it kind of flows north to south and then branches off on a bunch of different systems. So luckily for us, there's not a whole lot of portages or current as we make our way up this river here. So we're making our way up the Cat River system right now, and the wind's coming from the east. Now we've got some bigger lake crossings on the Cat River to go through today, so we'll see how choppy some of those waters get. There's some islands and stuff we can dart in behind, but there's a lot of big water paddling. Well, let's hope they don't get any worse. I mean, they're not supposed to, but you never know what happens in these big open lakes, right? We have to take that longer route around the island at Zions, and we have to take the longer route. Hopefully the rain holds off till we get to camp, or at least get really close to camp. We're gonna try to put a little more kilometers behind us today. Maybe not as aggressive as the last couple days, but we'll see. If that wind does shift to a tailwind, we'll take advantage of it and try to hammer out a few more kilometers. But yeah, our goal of the day is Cat Lake, so we'll see if we get there. Out on Zion's Lake now, just darting between some of these islands, and actually the wind has been somewhat in our favor as we've been making the crossing here. Kind of interesting because GULL Lake had lots of smooth, flat, typical Canadian shield rock, but Zion's Lake has a lot of these bouldery little island chains with scraggly spruce on them, a bit more sandy beaches. Just working our way down here, have to watch out for some shoals and stuff, especially with some of the waves out there, but pretty cool. Some interesting rocks and stuff out here too. Lots of little potholes in some of the rocks and bits of limestone, so you can tell that you know, when the glaciers were moving through here, there was a lot of running water as well. Really interesting spot. Sun's starting to poke through the clouds too, so it looks like the rain is holding off, so fingers crossed we have better weather ahead too.
Are you like purposely steering them into me?
No, it's just they're hitting me too. As we move out past some of these islands, there's about an 800-meter open water crossing, and given the fact that the last little bit of open water crossing wasn't too bad, we're hoping that this continues. Yeah, you might want to, Neil. Kind of in the most open spot of the lake now. I mean, you can see like 8K on either side, or 6K, whatever. But I think we're about 3/4 of the way across now, though. Ooh. Made it across Zions. Back up the Cat River we go. Whew. All right.
Mr. Canoe Head. So we're on the 600-meter portage on the Cat River, heading up to Kakikik Lake. It's an incredible portage. It's not only like very scenic and well marked, but it's like incredibly clear. Although we are approaching the grouse zone, and this thing likes to just jump out and scare me. Look at the size of this white spruce. Absolutely huge.
The unfortunate truth about upstream travel. They're bypassing some pretty great looking rapids, and you just gotta haul your gear alongside it. Much easier than walking through the bush though. So we're here, working our way up here. Another big lake. Lots of big lakes in this area. made it for camp for the night. We're here on Kapikik Lake. We wanted to get towards Cat Lake, but behind us it's really clouding over. It's getting really dark. Temperature's dropping a little bit, and it's really calm right now. We had a lot of wind, and it kind of feels like the calm before the storm. The satellite messenger was telling us that we're getting up to potentially 50 millimeters of rain. So even though we didn't get as far as we wanted to go today, we're gonna get hunkered down. Really nice beach site here actually, and there's a really good spot for a tent back up in the bush there. So we're gonna settle in for the night here, relax a little bit, get the tarp up, and then hang out until the storms come in. But this is absolutely gorgeous scenery out here. Haven't seen a soul. Fantastic paddling. Can't beat it. You got a hood. I didn't get a hood. You got a mosquito on your face. Just made you slap yourself. Kidding. I'm kidding. There's a mosquito on your face.
What a perfect day today for chili. It's rehydrating nicely, and it's pouring rain out there. It's really cold. This is exactly what I had in mind when we were planning our meals. Chili is usually reserved for a really cold day when it's rainy and kind of crummy out. So this is gonna warm us up inside. It's also super tasty. It's a perfect meal, I'd say.
Perfect meal for a near perfect day. Good on a rainy day?
I think I'd give you a run for your money on this rendition of chili. Of hot bowl. Whew.
It's coming out heavy, and we might get up to 50 millimeters, which is quite a bit of rain. So we're still on lakes for tomorrow, and then we go up the river, and then we get to the headwaters, and then once we get down the headwaters, that's where we could use a bit of rain. So hopefully all the lakes hold all this moisture for us and slowly trickle down the throat.
When you travel on nature's schedule, you sometimes make unexpected stoppages. While the rain may have forced us ashore earlier than anticipated, we were rewarded with the splendor of a sweeping golden beach. That night, we slowly drifted off to the sounds of heavy rain pelting off the fly and dreamed of clear skies on Cat Lake.
Well, it's a gray, overcast morning here. We're going to try to work our way up towards Cat Lake today, see if we get towards the top of the lake. Nice calm morning out here, so we're hoping we can put some kilometers behind us. Scenery's really been pretty cool. It's been really varied. Kapikik Lake here has tons of these awesome sandy beaches, and they made for an awesome place to camp for the night. As we get towards Cat Lake as well, we know there's going to be more beaches as well, so maybe we'll stop there for lunch and do some exploring. We can't wait to hit the water today and see what's in store. So more of these large lakes, but once we get north of Cat, that's going to be the last of our really big lake travel for the duration of the trip. So try to get these bigger lakes behind us because we know they can be temperamental with the winds. With some of these gray skies behind us, we might get more storms today. So let's see how she goes.
Leaving Kapikik Lake behind, we soon entered the sweeping expanse of Cat Lake. Home to the Ojibwe of Cat Lake First Nation, it was the last of the large lakes on our journey and the final vestige of civilization before the great unknown of the Throat River watershed.
Calm, no rain, and tailwind. I mean, that's what dreams are made out of. Canoe tripping dreams. So we made it to Cat Lake now. Really, really big lake, and we fortunately have a tailwind. It's like something like 30 or 40 kilometers long if you go from one end to the other. And kind of our route is pretty much taking us up the entire length of Cat Lake.
We're right here, somewhere around right here. We want to get tonight. So, I don't know, probably like another 27 kilometers. With this tailwind, it shouldn't take too long. Well, too long. It'll take us at least 6 to 8 hours, but whatever. We're in the boat. Who cares?
In planning for this trip too, knowing that we had to haul some big kilometer days, I brought my double blade. Normally when I'm paddling, I'll always paddle single blade, but for some days where we really want to move at a faster clip, I'll bring the double blade. Whereas with the single blade, we're averaging like 5 to 6 kilometers an hour. With the double blade, we'll go anywhere from 7 to 10 kilometers an hour. This is great. I did not think we'd get a southerly tailwind. Use the double blade, get down the lake a little bit. It just affords us a little more flexibility when we get to the headwaters of the throat, because we really don't know what's going to happen when we get there in terms of portage conditions, if we're going to have to bushwhack or not. So we really want to make pretty much every kilometer count up to the throat, and then once we get to the throat we can relax and reassess after we get past those headwaters. Super nice place to relax for a little bit here on this beach. A lot of great camping opportunities actually along some of these sandy beaches. Cat Lake doesn't have a lot of places to camp actually. It's pretty much just been bush and trees right to the water for the majority of this lake. So if you were to get caught in a storm out there, you know, you don't really have too many places to pull over and have a good spot to set up a tent. So if you're gonna paddle Cat Lake, you know, hopefully the weather's good for you, and if not, then it seems to be about every 3 to 5 kilometers there's at least something that could be a marginal bush site, but other than that you're going to be hacking your way through the bush with saws to get a tent in there. So a couple nice spots, like some of these beaches and rocky out points will do nicely. We soon entered a vast, slow-moving section of the Cat River. Before us lay an unbroken landscape of marshes and a horizon that melded water, forest, and sky as one unvarying line. It's just featureless. Look, just sea of grass, trees to water, and no ridges. We've almost gone 40K, and it's like 4 o'clock, and there's absolutely no campsites around whatsoever. So we're trying to make a big push up to Pichu Falls, which is still another, I don't know, 10K away.
See that very small hill in the distance? That is the first hill we've seen in like 8 hours. So this is very exciting for us. You probably can't even see it because it's so small.
It's 20 meters high.
But trust me, it's beautiful.
We're here on the banks of the Cat River below Pichu Falls. Long day. We're gonna make a really nice dinner tonight. Something that's gonna fill us up and reward us for nearly 50 kilometers of paddling out there today. So really nice spot too. We actually just carved it out of the bush. There wasn't a lot of rock today in some sections, but coming up this northern part of the Cat River, there were some rocky banks, and we were able to get to a tent in the back there under some nice sphagnum moss, and then cut out a little area for us to sit and relax as we eat some dinner. Not a bad spot, actually.
What are we cooking, Chef Brad?
Cheesy mac and cheese with beef, and there's lots of it. I mean, we're starving after doing nearly 50K, so there's enough beef to feed a family of 4 probably, and then probably enough mac and cheese to feed a family of 4. This is gonna be pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to this. I was craving like something rich, stick to your ribs, and tasty all day, and I think this is gonna do it.
This is what a post 49.5 kilometer day looks like.
Oh, cheesy goodness.
It is so good. Oh man, it was worth the 50K.
Is it good because it's 50K, or is it good because we...
Probably both. But, like, I would eat this at home every night.
Yeah, you gained like 300 pounds.
Not if I canoe 50K a day.
Yeah, it's calories in, calories out day. This is a perfect meal for that. Tomorrow, we would leave the Cat River system behind and begin what promised to be the most challenging section of our journey as we neared the height of land and the watershed divide. On the next episode of Little North, big lakes give way to small creeks as we attempt to work our way upstream and over the height of land in an attempt to reach the headwaters of the storied Throat River.
I started feeling a little disheartened and nervous about just how hard this part of the trip was going to be. I have a feeling we're going to be entering into the Type 2 fun portion of this trip. This section is the greatest unknown of our journey, and we're faced with innumerable challenges and obstacles as we travel through parts where few ever venture.
Hardship, triumph, and adventure await as we continue our journey across the Little North.